They're not going to try to take away the previous funding hike, the spending hike that they wrote in the law. They're not going to do any of that shit. And they're literally farming you right now. They're telling you that they're not going to do it. There's a CNN town hall with about ICE, by the way. We're going to be watching that right now. Jacob Frey is live on CNN. Hopefully they cook his ass a little bit. Hopefully they fry his ass a little bit. But
urge needs to end.
Did Tom Homan say he would end it?
He did not make a commitment to ending it on any given timeline. However, my hope, my expectation is that the troops and the agents we're seeing will be drawn down. My hope and my expectation is the conduct that has caused so much chaos on our streets will end. But again, I'll believe it when I see it.
Mayor, I want to introduce you to Mac Randolph. This is, Mac is from Richfield, Minnesota. Alex Preddy took care of his dad, Terrence Lee Randolph, when he was dying at the VA. He was his hospice nurse, essentially, and Alex honored his dad in this video. I just want to play that for our viewers.
Today we remember that freedom is not free. We have to work at it, nurture it, protect it, and even sacrifice for it. May we never forget and always remember our brothers and sisters who have served so that we may enjoy the gift of freedom.
Mac, welcome. What's your question?
Is there any transparency from feds on a timeline when their operation would be satisfied and they would conclude, or is this just the new reality?
Mac, first, thank you for being here. It's got to be a pretty emotional thing. Having someone that took such good care and had such deep respect for your dad get shot and killed.
Call has her speaking. Oh my God, she's smiling.
The question is, do we have some form of transparency in this investigation? How do we know that it will be conducted fully and fairly?
No, actually, it's whether there's a timeline on the operation from the feds. Is there any transparency on when maybe they would be satisfied and conclude this overall operation, or are they just saying this will just be ongoing for indefinitely?
Look, we don't have a timeline as to when and how it will be drawn down. And I know that's as frustrating and as concerning to me as it is so many other people in our country, because look, Mac, you know this as well as I do. This is not about safety. If this were about safety, there would be so many important mechanisms where we could, in fact, partner. And we have partnered extensively.
These people to judge.
We've partnered with the federal government, with the DEA, the FBI, the ATF, to successfully drive down crime. For instance, on the north side of Minneapolis, shootings are at a record low. Crime is down in virtually every category in every neighborhood. But that's not what this is about. And so do I have a timeline as to when it's going to end? No, that would be a better question for the federal government. But we're going to do everything possible that we can to advocate, to push, and to stand up for the neighbors who we love so dearly. I wish I had a better answer for
If this is not about safety on the federal government's part, in your opinion, what is it about that's happening here?
Well, it's not about safety, nor is it, I believe, about immigration. You don't need to take my word for it. Listen to the words that are coming directly from the federal administration and people in it. This is about political retribution. And that should be concerning, by the way, not just for people that live in Minneapolis, but for everybody throughout America. We do not have a system of government where people are penalized, punished, investigated, or you have troops deployed to their city for people that disagree with the federal administration. That happens in other countries, but not here. And so my message, not just in response to this answer, but my message to everybody throughout this country is, look, be a patriot. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an American issue. In America, we stand up for First Amendment speech, we stand up for our neighbors, and we don't allow political retribution to take place only because there is a disagreement. Disagreement is what makes us better as a country.
Mayor, I want to introduce to you Sophia Karanakis. She is a law student here in Minneapolis at the University of Minnesota. Sophia, what's your question?
So what do you have to say to those who are arguably the majority, who feel that harsh words and public statements are not enough to address this crisis?
Yes.
I would say that they are exactly right. Words alone are not going to do anything. And that's why in the city of Minneapolis, we are taking clear action to change this. And the battlefield that we operate on is the battlefield of the law. We are right, legally. The actions that have taken place in our street are unconstitutional. You can't randomly yank off the street a person because they happen to look Somali or they happen to look Latino. You can't detain United States citizens, rip them away from their family, and they don't even know where they went.
Brother, you literally are responding with more words, okay? Like, the person is like, can you give us more commitments beyond words? And he's like, well, let me tell you, I got the best words.
Several days because
I got the best words. This is, for the record, why I was saying these guys are not meeting the fucking moment. And all these, like, stupid liberals on the timeline were yelling at me over this. Being like, why are you yelling at the Democrats? I'm not. I'm offering a voice to the people of Minneapolis that also want their local administrators to do something.
Afraid to go outside, taking a watch at a daycare to make sure
Looking
that their
at the camera
friends, their
directly.
neighbors,
Oh,
our
hell
family,
yeah, dude.
we are a collective family, that they're safe. And if there's inspiration to take it from them. Take it from the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Minneapolitans and Minnesotans that are standing up saying, you know what, we are better united, we are better together. And that, if nothing else, has been ridiculously powerful. I've never been prouder to be from Minneapolis.
Mayor, one of those people, Alex Preddy, was out there taking video, and many things have been said about him by the administration. You heard words from Stephen Miller, you heard words from DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, you heard from Commander Greg Bovino, all saying things about him, calling him a domestic terrorist, saying he was there to massacre police. Has anyone from the administration apologized to you or anyone in your administration or any officials here in Minnesota about what they initially said about Alex Preddy?
And Alex Preddy, we saw this from the video involving your dad, Mac, clearly a person that cares deeply about this country, that cares about other people beyond himself.
Let's be real. They're worried about starting a civil war. Brother, I hate this counter argument, okay? You want to know why? Because there is already a war taking place. So the option here is to just roll over and die. What are you saying? Like, what do you mean?
I mean, it's indicative of him, but it's
the
also
goal here is to apply pressure to make it costly, okay? To develop a response that will make it costly. Trump already is on the back foot. It already worked. And it worked in spite of these idiots. It worked because the people rose up. It's here already. People that say, oh, the response is a civil war. It's like, brother, it's over then. If there is no response whatsoever, and we don't actually make this a costly endeavor for the Trump administration, they're just going to do it over and over again. That's why when I went out there, I said Minneapolis is doing this not just for their own neighbors, but for the rest of the country.
It's horrific. It's awful. I mean, I'll just ask a simple question. If all of those agents were not wearing a uniform, what would we call that?
I want to bring in Kathy Schweikart. She's a retiree from here in Minneapolis.
And you know what? I have a fan that's also a Burnt Peanut fan that came in here to be like, this is all boring. Burnt Peanut is live. That's a crazy statement in this community of all communities, bro.
Mayor Frey, can you explain what it means to be a sanctuary city, why Minneapolis is a sanctuary city,
ain't no way,
and why you believe being a sanctuary city makes Minneapolis a safer place?
There's a lot of terminology about what is or what isn't a sanctuary city. But in Minneapolis, we have something called a separation ordinance. And what that ordinance states is that we do not work on immigration enforcement. We do not cooperate with federal agencies around immigration enforcement. We do work extensively with federal agencies.
I don't like that when he talks about the dog stuff, but he's very sure. Hey, I don't give a shit about him talking about the dog stuff. I do give a shit about them doing a fucking accidental N slip on one of their streams.
Where we've worked with the federal administration to help.
That chat is just like
but
slur
it's not on
Saturday.
federal immigration law. Why? Again, because I want our police spending time protecting the residents of our city, stopping
That was Closey, not
homicides and
Peanut. No,
carjackings,
I know.
making sure that violent offenders are investigated and held accountable. What the separation ordinance also says is that we won't ask the question as
Peanut
to whether
laughed
an
and pretended
individual
like
is
it was all good.
documented or not.
Yeah.
And here's why. We want people that are
Wait for
undocumented to
Saturday.
have the confidence to call 911 without the fear that they'll get deported.
Slur
in doing
Saturday
so.
is fine.
That is a
Peanut had an
safety
F slur
strategy.
slip up and got
That's
banned
not
for
an
it. I mean,
immigration strategy.
look,
That is a
it is
safety
what it is.
strategy. By the way,
You know.
this is a strategy that has
Whatever.
been implemented and supported.
Closey shit talks you any chance he gets. Dude's a loser, brother. Who gives a f if these guys shit talk me? I don't care. You shouldn't either. You should only care if they're doing like reactionary propaganda. Okay.
Himself that we want people to call 911 and not to have a fear in doing so.
Let me follow up on that, because would you in any scenario be willing if
just the
the
F slur,
federal
that's
government
fine,
came to you
no,
and
that's
say,
not
look,
what I said.
ICE has identified a residence where there is a rapist or there is a murderer. Would you allow Minneapolis police to be involved in an operation to apprehend that person?
Yeah, we're anti-rape in Minneapolis. This the most simplest position I think I've ever taken. We're anti-murder in the city of Minneapolis.
Because they say they
Bro,
are
they got
looking for
67K
hardened
viewers
criminals.
regularly. It's kind of relevant in the
Yeah,
normie
if you
sphere.
wanna
Yeah,
look
bro.
for a
So is
rape or a
American
murderer,
football. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I know. I know. I know. They're popping. They're popping amongst normies. There was a space that was left unoccupied for Dr. Disrespect fans, okay? And Burt Peanut is occupying that space right now. He is all up and down that space. 38-year-old police officers, after a long day of sitting around in their cop cars, have to go back home and unwind, okay? Do you understand? There has to be someone entertaining them with like some of the most like boomer tier type jokes. He's a gamer. As long as they're not running around being like, yeah, Donald Trump is awesome or whatever the fuck. You know, I'm fine with that.
Crossing over the border, is that a possible point of compromise?
I've stated for, my entire political career, and certainly many times over the last month and a half, if they want to work together.
Like, if I'm going to sit around getting mad at Burnt Peanut or whatever, you have to understand, there's a reason why I never talked about Asmongold for years. The reason why I didn't talk about Asmongold for years was because he was just gaming. Every now and then he'd let something slip. Who gives a fuck? You got to pick your battles. I can't be fighting every content creator on the internet for like shit that they're doing. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're chuds. Who gives a fuck?
Why does that matter in catching a murderer? Just catch the murderer.
All right, Mayor, I want to introduce you, Munira Ali Mira, a Somali-American resident from Minneapolis and a second-year law student at the University of Minnesota as well. A lot of law students that are represented here. You previously worked as a law clerk for the city of Minneapolis. Munira, what is your question?
Awesome.
Mayor Frey, what material commitments are you making to community members, our community members, who have been harmed, detained, or have had their loved ones brutalized? As the mayor of the city, what concrete actions will you and the city of Minneapolis take, such as providing financial support, coordinating resources, or pursuing legal action?
All of the above, providing financial support, coordinating legal resources, and of course pursuing action. These are actions that are underway, and we need to bolster them. So first, we are proactively and responsively suing based on the unconstitutional conduct that is happening in our streets. Second, we are working with a number of victims of these unconstitutional actions to try to hook them up with organizations where they can themselves have standing to sue. Third, we have a task force that is set up so that we've got communication channels that are in line so that we get through this most difficult of situations. And finally, look, our entire city enterprise has been operating over the last several weeks, if not months, to do everything possible that we can to keep our residents safe and to have an emergency response to what's presently taking place. And that includes things like having our community service officers deliver food. These are soon-to-be police officers deliver food for people that would otherwise be afraid to go out of their homes. This is everything that's happening through offices of immigrant and refugee affairs to make sure that they have legal supports in place if and when they need them. And here's the other truth. Is it enough? And this is real. No. No, and I'm sorry. I never in a million years would I have imagined that this kind of thing would happen, that the Department of Justice would be weaponized against local people and elected officials, that we'd have this broad invasion, thousands of agents, not to keep people safe, but causing chaos in our street. And so I'm sorry to you, to your community, and to your soon-to-be profession as a lawyer. And if I could just add one more thing, we need more people just like you. Because you're the one that's going to stand up for these constitutional rights going forward. You're the one that is going to ensure the endurance of our republic, which quite literally depends on people speaking out in favor of our country, in favor of America.
We're going to take a short break. We'll have more questions from our audience. We'll hear more.
You've never been more alone in your life than at this very moment. We've never been more alone. As far as like demanding that our electeds do something, it's crazy. He should have listened to Omar Fateh. Yeah, Omar Fateh floated some pretty ridiculous ideas for Minneapolis, but this one takes the cake. He's pledged to direct Minneapolis Police Department to arrest federal agents, a move that would put our entire community at risk. At last night's debate, Jacob Frey had a simple question. How
would our police officers do that? How would our police officers arrest federal agents when, simply put, they have much bigger guns and it would be illegal?
And that's part of it.
But we should actually dig in on the answer to this question, because this gets to the crux of the issues that we actually deal with. You committed to arresting federal agents. My simple question.
Yeah, well, if there's any federal agent that has a mask on, that should not be allowed in our city.
I agree with that, but how? How do you arrest them?
Well, we can work with our state partners, we can work with our attorney general, we can work with it cross-jurisdictionally, we can work as a city.
But specifically, how would you arrest them?
The reality is,
this would put our...
What do you mean? That's the job of the police, is to enforce the laws. Enforce the law? It's that simple. You go up and you tell them that they're under arrest for not abiding by the anti-mask initiatives. You ticket the shit out of them. You keep literally ticketing their cars. Okay? Cops love issuing tickets. You gum up the works any way you can. Cops love giving tickets. Okay? It's their favorite thing. Tow their cars, man. Issue them tickets. Trespass them when they're trying to break and enter into the home of a Minneapolis resident. Do you mean how? I can't stand these, bro. Issue citations. Anyway, now the full leaked TPUSA Zoom call. This is like right after Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Cute that is. Sorry, this is a little bit more informal than probably Charlie would be reacting. How sweet. I didn't know they could do that. I hate Zoom. I never like Zoom. Sorry, you guys. I just wanted to say first and foremost, my heart obviously is broken for you guys as much as it is for our family. You guys lost not only a boss, but someone that you looked up.
Wait, this is 5 days after?
You loved hearing his wisdom on things. I'm sure some of you have also had very personal moments of where you sat down and
had private conversations with him. I want you all to hold on to those. And I want you all to remember those so deeply. I want you to journal about them. I want you to be able to tell your kids about them.
Charlie Kirk was killed on the 10th. This is 6 days after. Wait, is this the one where she's like laughing and stuff? No, this is not the same one. This is new footage.
You know, like even Stacey said, he's gonna find ways to speak to us. And he's gonna speak to you.
Additional footage of Peretti kicking Ice Cruise's taillight 12 days ago was posted by BBC recently. No, I know. We watched it. And people think like, oh, this proves that he deserved to be killed because they're insane. they're cattle, and they're also mentally ill. You know, they're just completely, they are living in an alternative reality. Okay. They think that this justifies his murder. Anyway, this is back. Let's see what else they have to
kicking
say.
their vehicle's taillight as the agents are driving away. The agents stop. They leave their vehicle.
It's not AI. Stop saying it's fucking AI. Jesus Christ, you're making me mad.
A few seconds before Mr. Preddy is able to get up, a gun appears to be tucked in his waistband. It is unclear if the agents noticed the gun. They do not disarm Preddy. They instead walk away. It's unclear what took place immediately before or after this footage. A representative for Preddy's family confirmed to CNN that the man in the video posted Wednesday is
the video is not
Preddy.
AI.
The Department of Homeland Security told CNN Wednesday it is reviewing the footage. We are live in Minneapolis with Mayor Jacob Frey, and we're now joined by Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara. Obviously, a video like this, which has just emerged, some people are going to see it as in one way, other people are going to see it in another way. Do you think it changes at all? Do you think this video, to you, what does this video say?
I actually haven't yet seen the video, but are we actually making the argument that Alex Preddy should be killed for something that happened like 11 days prior to the shooting itself? No, I think we should be talking about the circumstances that actually led to the killing and what took place. And those circumstances, I mean, you can believe your own two eyes.
I want to read a statement that we just received from
CNN is crazy for this, by the way. They're like, come on, just say.
Down the street, despite posing no threat to anyone, he was violently assaulted by a group of ICE agents. Nothing that happened a full week before could possibly have justified Alex's killing at the hands of ICE on January 24th.
Y'all are almost as stupid as I am. That's saying something. Sorry, we're so dumb sometimes. We still need you. Don't get discouraged.
In the streets, from a professional policing
Top posting his subreddit is calling it AI. Should probably clap it. Sure.
Well,
I mean, I have no control over my subreddit.
At least a number of the videos that we've seen that have been circulated online show a lot of methods that are questionable and tactics that just do not appear safe. They don't appear safe for the officers involved or for the people in the community that they're encountering. I think law enforcement for several years, especially here in Minneapolis,
so the way you see disabled people, you're an ableist asshat?
To de-escalate situations whenever possible. That means we try to slow things down. We try and, calm the situation.
Are you talking to this? Are you talking to this cop, or are you talking to me?
Unnecessarily escalate things. The other thing I would add about a number of the videos that we've seen is, to me, it looks like policing 20 or 30 years ago. It doesn't appear at times that officers are working in a coordinated way, that they don't seem to have sort of team tactics in a trained and disciplined way to safely accomplish a goal.
No, I'm talking to you. You are literally advocating for mass bans. Oh my God. On ICE agents? Mass bans on public servants as they're conducting kidnapping operations, chatter? Yo! Oh, that's dope, man. What, chatter? Are you an ICE agent? Are you like a neurodivergent ICE agent? I'm saying the way you sold it, you were like, make the cops ticket people wearing masks. Perhaps there was some additional context to that, don't you think? Don't double down. Don't double down, because don't try to double down. Are you an immunocompromised ICE agent that's experiencing imposter syndrome? Is that what it is? Don't do it. Don't do the KFC double down now. That person has to be doing a psyop. No, that person misunderstood me and then made it everybody else's problem. Dark woke is so bad. This person is not dark woke. This person is just a very angry person. Chatter, come on.
In similar scenarios now, knowing ICE may try to prevent them from doing their jobs.
I am like 25 months subscriber or something. I know.
So I do feel like we are in a better place today than we were in the beginning of the week. I think the situation had increasingly been spiraling in a place we have never been before. We work literally every single day with members of federal law enforcement and all of these different agencies. A lot of our officers, and myself included, have personal relationships with a lot of these different federal agencies. And so at least when these shootings that have happened in the city have occurred, each time I have requested the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to respond. That is the agency that we have in this state that independently conducts use of force investigations that involve police. The problem that we've had, particularly the last time, is that while we were present on the scene and trying to preserve the scene, the BCA was not allowed into the scene, not once but twice, and including in the second time, they took the unusual step.
Do you want the Reddit post to be clapped? Also your top mod? Yeah, clap it.
To process a public space at a crime scene.
I have a couple of questions for both of you. Just quickly to you, Chief. There was a description from the Trump administration officials about what happened. I know you've seen the video of the killing of Alex Preddy.
I'll be like, we need to unmask KKK Klans members, and chatters will be like, that's ableist in here. How ableist of you to unmask the Klansmen. Don't you know they're immunocompromised? Oh, Jesus. That was good. That was good. That was funny. That was funny.
In terms of the video speaks for itself. We see somebody standing on the side that's recording what looks like a traffic stop to me, that then there winds up
a bunch of them have died of COVID, so.
And a shooting.
Line of duty death.
That's what's on the video.
All right, I'm going to get back to the audience. We have a grandmom of 20. Yes, you heard that right. Yeah. Amazing the work that you have had to do in your life. Dana Jabs from White Bear Lake, Minnesota. You are a retired police officer, and you have 20 jobs, plus your own children.
Yes. As a retired police officer, the spouse of a retired police officer, the granddaughter of a retired police chief, a daughter of a police officer, mother of children in law enforcement, I fear the president is putting local law enforcement in situations that force them to choose between a career that they love or having to defend the chaos the president is sending to our cities. Have you talked to your officers?
Yeah. First off, thank you for your service, and thank you for the service of all of your family members. I've tried to be present as much as possible with our officers, both out on the street and in the stations.
Bro, you got the cop right there. You got King Thumb. Just be like, why won't you prosecute? Why won't you, why won't you arrest ICE agents? Come on. Can we arrest ICE agents, please? That would be very nice if you would arrest some ICE agents. I would like a side of arresting ICE agents, please. Wow, this is a beautiful day. It's only minus 10 degrees today. Probably the warmest day in Minneapolis. Perfect day to arrest ICE agents. You know, that type of stuff. I think that's the type of stuff that you should be saying at this town hall.
And it's been very, very difficult, not just for them, but for the family members that are at home. When they're getting called in, when they're getting held over. It's bringing everyone, our residents, it's bringing all of these emotions from all of this trauma back up to the forefront.
This dude is just exploding out of his uniform. Yeah, he is the most. Look at him, bro. He is so thumb-coated. It is crazy. You know he's going into the evidence pile for some steroids that they seized from a shipment, you know?
They want to be the change in this department, set an example for the rest of the country to follow. Those officers that have stuck around after 2020.
It's about to be an incident when the top button pops off and just decapitates one of these old ladies at the town hall. My man is just sitting there, sitting there like a 10-pound hot dog in a 5-pound bag.
De-escalation, and some of this department's harshest critics are now recognizing the juxtaposition between the way our Minneapolis police officers conduct themselves and what we've seen from these federal agents over the last several weeks.
We're going to get to another audience question. We all saw the image of 5-year-old Liam with immigration officials outside his home near Minneapolis. His dad, Adrian, he and his dad, they were detained shortly after his dad picked him up from school.
Did you call the Israel-esque audio? Yeah, earlier today I said.
His attorney says Adrian has no criminal record. The family's been going through the legal process to gain asylum. This is Zena Stenvik, She is the
I
superintendent of Columbia
I hit
Heights
my
Public Schools,
United
where Liam
States
is a
of
student.
ice reel on
Welcome.
that one
What is your
too.
question?
Thank you. Can
Or
you
is
please
it
outline all measures within your
staging
power
fake
to
phone
ensure
calls to
safe
present
passage
your
of children
unlawful
to
military
and
as the
from
victims as
school
you kill
each day?
civilians? Where have I seen this before?
So thank you. I recognize the concerns that are raised with the child from your district. I can tell you in the Minneapolis Police Department, our number one priority whenever we are involved in an arrest situation where there is a dependent child present, that we want to do
Ty doing most of the work for those buttons giving in. Brother, if one of those explodes, I'm gonna tell you that Ty is not holding anything. Okay, he's about to Charlie Kirk somebody. Okay, exploding buttons directly flying off in every direction. That is not a load-bearing Ty. Also, it's probably a clip-on, I suspect.
And houses of worship in our city, and to try and ensure that people do feel safe. But the reality is, there's a whole lot of families in the city that don't feel safe going out of the house at all.
I'm tactically ascertaining that those buttons are approximately going to engage in a kinetic situation in 0900 hours.
There's a whole lot of children.
A kinetic situation that will that will end up with an officer-involved injury.
The community is just very real.
Zenna, I want to ask you, what kind of impact
Flying
have you seen on
at 95 miles per hour?
We're seeing the same thing in our school district. There's a lot of fear when we have groups of masked agents roaming our streets, roaming our neighborhoods, at our bus stops, circling our schools. It's having a very negative impact on all of the children.
Wow.
Have either of you spoken to Liam's family?
I have not.
Chief, I want to just quickly ask you, and you, Mayor, these federal agents be on school campuses? Because I know we have spoken to the superintendent, and they have seen ICE coming onto campus and around the campuses.
No, of course they shouldn't be. I mean, here's the underlying question. What the federal government would have you believe is that they are exclusively going after criminals, that they are going after the most violent of offenders that cause danger in our cities. Yet we see a 5-year-old kid getting picked up. We see a pregnant woman getting dragged through the snow. Are we concerned about the person that has committed a serious crime? Because if so, again, there's broad agreement. Or, I mean, are we concerned about the person that has been here for decades, maybe 29 years, who's been working as a baker? As far as I know, nobody has come to me and said, we got to get that baker out of here. The breads and the cakes are just a bridge too far. Nobody's saying that. That guy has made our city a better place. And so why not have the focus on actual criminals? If that were the case, then again, stop making this about immigration.
Do you think they're trying to meet a quota? I mean, Stephen Miller had talked about a
yes.
3,000 wanting to get 3,000
What do you mean? Do you think that's
every day?
Brother, your own news broadcast has reported on the quotas. Like, that's not a question that's up for speculation.
Is that it is making our city less safe. What I can tell you is that, yes, it has caused chaos on our streets.
If it is the case that there is quotas, I think we learned a long time ago in this country that policing for quotas is not a good thing, and that bad things happen because of it.
Chief, this is a question to you from our audience. This is Quinn Mudry Nelson, a PhD student at the University of Minnesota. Thank you for being here, Quinn. What's your question?
Why are local police deploying the same militant tactics as ICE on peaceful protesters, such as tear gas, flash grenades, and others? These actions only further damage the reputation of the MPD, where our communities lump your officers in with ICE. And since they behave similarly in this regard, I can only humbly assume that the MPD does not want to be confused with ICE. So do you speak on that, please? Thank you.
Sure. There have been many, many instances over the last several weeks where tear gas and less lethal munitions have been deployed throughout the city. The overwhelming majority of times, it has been from federal law enforcement agencies. There are 2 instances that I am aware of where tear gas was authorized and was deployed. And in both of those instances, those were the times where it was very clearly an unlawful assembly and very, very much unsafe. And it was necessary in order to try and de-escalate the situation and remove local police and state police from those areas. And that's exactly what happened. The reality is there's been about a dozen Minneapolis police officers that have been injured in other instances because we are trying to step in between and we are trying to de-escalate things. But the reality is at times, there have been a few times, we saw it on Saturday, there were 2 fires that were set. There were glass bottles being thrown, all sorts of projectiles and dangerous things happening. I mean, those are situations that we need to try and restore the peace as quickly as possible, try and arrest the people that are responsible, and then get back to a situation where we can de-escalate and keep everyone safe. And I think we were successful at that.
I'm curious, Chief, are your officers and a lot of people who were in the streets that Saturday, are your officers there to protect protesters from DHS officers or to protect DHS officers from the protesters?
So this has been a question that comes up repeatedly, and it's one that we get accusations all the time. I know everyone sees things through one political filter or another. The reality is the responsibility of the Minneapolis Police Department is to keep the streets and the people in this city safe. So what has been happening over and over and over again, once a situation deteriorates where there's a public safety threat, where there is actual violence, threats of violence, or property damage, we insert ourselves into that chaos like we would in any other situation where those types of things are happening, and we try and slow things down and de-escalate and keep the peace.
I just want to say, is DHS making your officers more unsafe with some of the actions that they have?
All of these resulting actions and everything that has happened very clearly has had a dramatic impact and a toll on our officers. There's no question about it. But I want to finish, if I may, your original question. Even when we show up where there's hotels being damaged and we try and stop that and make arrests, people then view that
Not the
as,
hotels.
oh, well, you're protecting the ICE agents in the hotel.
Yes, they are.
No, we're protecting literally everyone.
There's a question
yes,
for
you.
you.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are literally protecting the ICE agents in the hotel. You're protecting them from going to sleep. From stopping them from going to sleep.
History with the infamous killings of Philando Castile and George Floyd. How do you plan to win back the favor of the people? How can we trust our local police when they seemingly stand by as families are torn apart, people are killed, and protesters are subject to tear gas and other chemical attacks?
Well, our efforts to try and rebuild trust did not begin when ICE arrived. That's something that has been very intentionally happening over the last few years. Our policies have changed dramatically, our practices have changed, and we are taking a very intentional effort to engage with all people in our community. In fact, I would argue that right now, in the Somali and the Latino communities in particular, those are the ones being targeted here right now. I would argue we have the strongest support that this city has ever had for police from the communities that are actually being targeted.
All right, I want to go now to a question from Mayor Frey. Let's turn to Susanna Hollander. She is a law student here at the University of Minnesota.
They're like, please.
There's a lot of billable hours.
I mean,
I am another law student, but I'm also a long-term member of this community. So I'm wondering what makes you the most proud of our community and how we've responded to this situation.
I have never been prouder to be from Minneapolis. We've seen tens of thousands of people peacefully protest in the street. We've seen neighbors standing up for neighbors. We've seen people drop off groceries and food to families that are otherwise terrified to go outside. We've seen people escort their neighbors to work because they've got to be able to pay the bills and pay rent. Minneapolis has been a place of heartbreak, but we are also a place of grit and perseverance. The fact that we've gotten knocked down 7 times, but we get back up 8, I think is something that both makes me proud, but also the rest of the country is seeing. So, I mean, if you're looking for the extraordinary, main character energy here, look no further than the 435,000 residents that call Minneapolis home and the many more that come and go. We've been through it all over these last 5 years, but Minneapolis is a shining example of a city that is standing up for America.
All right, we are going to take a break real quick here. And when we return, we're going to be joined by 3 Minnesota state
Republicans. Oh, great. Oh, great. Awesome. Democratic Party machine is now working to create the justification for caving to Trump on the ICE issue. A few days ago, I warned about the tycoon-funded Searchlight Institute run by former Fetterman staffers have been deriding ICE critics. Now we get this update from the Senate. The influential new think tank seeks to push the Democratic Party towards broadly popular positions, regardless of ideology. In the case of ICE, Jenelson writes, Adam Jenelson is Searchlight. He is the John Fetterman caretaker. What is this? Who these pigs are protecting, by the way? Wait, dude, you almost got me banned, Jay Mershon. That video has his cheeks. Gremlo caught a warning for that, or a day ban for that. It's censored? Okay. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. Looking at this on the other account. Oh, it is censored. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's an ICE agent that's like, it's whatever. I still don't want to risk it. But it's an ICE agent that's like mooning the protesters. Wait, what the fuck? Bro showed whole, not just cheeks. Yeah, he spread them. Not that censored. You can still see it. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, they were mooning. They're like sitting on top of the hotel, looking down at the crowd and mooning them, spreading their cheeks like completely spreading them. Yeah, you can see the poop particles on the crevice of that butthole. Anyway, Democrats should usually leverage the demand common sense reforms to ICE that have been backing. That have the backing of broad bipartisan majorities of Americans. Jenelson writes in the memo, which came across the desk of aide Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer Tuesday and continued to make the rounds among Senate Democrats. Oh my Lord, dude. Dude, we're never getting anything. It's so hard not to be pessimistic, man. I'm sorry. Democrats are 100% signaling that they are going to do reforms on ICE, okay? They're not going to try to defund ICE. They're not going to try to take away the previous funding hike, the spending hike that they wrote in the law. They're not going to do any of that. They're literally farming you right now. They're telling you that they're not going to do it.
The Department of Homeland Security is killing American citizens. It's terrorizing our communities, and it's violating the law every single day, and it has to stop. And we have the power to think about this in the Senate. As you know, Senate Democrats have said something similar.
Don't put your faith on for political change and electoralism then. God, shut the up, okay? That's not the only thing I'm doing. Oh my God, I hate spelling it out for you. Some of you guys are so stupid, okay? I'm sorry. It's not just you in here, okay? Many of you have already been radicalized a long time ago. There are plenty more that are not, okay? They need to be led to the water. Shut the up. It's not like I just say, vote, and then that's it. Vote Kamala. Like, do you think that's what I'm doing here? Shut the up.
We're not going to fund the Department of Homeland Security unless there are serious and significant reforms. And so I want to talk to you for a second about, A, how important this is.
Half of the internet's up my ass because I didn't endorse Kamala Harris. How dare you? You basically allowed Donald Trump to win. You're the most powerful person in American politics, you piece of shit. And then the other half are like, the crustiest of you've ever encountered, being like, you need to take up arms and start murking ICE officers immediately. Otherwise, if you do not build the Revolutionary Vanguard right now, you are a lib. You are a rad lib. Shut the up.
And B, what those reforms should look like. This is important because this is an agency that is just out of control, that is showing contempt for the law, and every single day is lying about what they're doing. The whole country is demanding that the Department of Homeland Security stop terrorizing
Angus King is already caving. Oh my God, we're so cooked. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, okay? You guys can keep crying.
Well, it's literally all the people involved. That's what we're seeing, is that there is not a desire to lower the temperature. It's immediately tit for tat. We're not going to work together. And I was really hopeful when I heard Tom Homan was appointed there, moving out fresh blood. But What we're seeing is
I was so
more
hopeful
of the
that
same,
the
and
other
that is not
we swapped out the
helpful for our
manlet freak
state.
for
We need
Jabba
all
the Hutt.
leaders to stop with the negativity and start.
Stop with the
finding ways
negativity,
where we can
guys.
actually come
The state of Republicans, dude.
Audience now, this is for you, Representative Engen. I want to bring in Rebecca Whiting. She is from Bemidji, Minnesota. Did I get that right, y'all?
Yes.
Okay. Thank goodness. She is a farmer and the chair of the Libertarian Party of Minnesota. She's also an Iraq War Army veteran. Thank you for your service, Rebecca. What is your question?
Okay, so my question is, do you believe protesters have the right to the Second Amendment? Would I, as an Army veteran, still be able to have access to my Second Amendment if I attended a protest?
Well, first off, I want to say thank you for your service. We're all owing you a great debt. And, you know, when it comes to protests versus riots, that's a different thing. Of course you have a legal right to carry. But when you are trying to get in the way of law enforcement officers, when it is your stated goal to get in the way of lawful arrests of some of the most heinous amongst us, when it comes to the 1,600 people on a detainer list that Governor Walz refused to give over, that's a whole different...
The Department of Corrections cooperates with the federal mandate. Any criminal that you are actually giving to ICE is coming from prison. Okay? Shut the
chaos, it's destruction, it's calamity, and it was completely avoidable. Had Tim Walz just given over that detainer list.
I cannot believe Omar has to deal with these losers, bro. Holy shit, these
chaos,
guys are such
about
dildos.
A riot. Did you see a riot when you saw Alex Preddy out there using his cell phone against, just holding it sort of and showing what the officers were doing there, the federal officers?
I saw a riot days prior when he'd kicked out a taillight and then continued to try to raise tensions with law enforcement. What's so sad about all this is that we could have never been here. Like sitting here right now talking about a state of emergency in Minnesota, we could have avoided that altogether, not for our supposed leaders. They made actions knowingly that were going to raise tensions. And had that original detainer list been, given over to the federal government and ICE agents been allowed to, remove those 1,600 individuals, we wouldn't be talking about 2 dead Minnesotans right now.
But you didn't see a riot the day that Mr. Preddy was...
There were other instances of engaging with police in an unlawful manner. In that scenario, of course, it's a sad ordeal, but it's chaos. They would not stop getting in the way of law enforcement and our ICE agents.
Do you see any chaos being created by ICE agents screaming at people, yelling at people, calling them slurs?
First off, any slur, that's disgusting. But we have ICE agents who are seeing a 600% increase in assaults on themselves right now.
I'm just wondering, have you heard ICE agents insulting people? Have you heard what ICE agents, Border Patrol, what people have said to citizens who are standing there with cell phones?
Yeah, there's been a lot of negative rhetoric that's been spewed both ways. I will not admit or not deny that. But when it is a stated goal to get in the way of a lawful arrest of somebody who is confirmed to be a federally recognized terrorist member of Hezbollah or a child sex predator, as there's been many found here in Operation Metro Surge, murderers, those are the people that ICE is trying to remove. And when they're the ones being attacked, they obviously are going to have some heightened tensions. And so are the protesters who are being told that they're Gestapo by our own governor.
All right, I want to address a question to you, Senator Holmstrom. President Donald Trump said yesterday that Alex Preddy, quote, shouldn't have been carrying a gun and that you can't walk in with guns. You can't do that. Do you agree with him?
So I along with 200 or plus thousand Minnesotans have a concealed carry permit. I believe that you have an absolute right to carry a firearm in the streets of Minnesota. Again, there's a lawful way to do it. And if you have a responsibility as a gun owner and as a carry holder to be judicious about when and where you carry your firearm. I've been to protests. I don't carry there because it's a dangerous situation. I'm not saying that that's lawful. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying that you have a responsibility to be judicious in how you choose to exercise that right and all of your rights. So no, I guess I disagree with the president on that. You certainly have a right to bring a firearm. That right ends when you choose to physically engage with law enforcement. You no longer have a right to carry in that situation.
But what if
once
you're just using
take
your cell
unlawful
phone?
actions, you've lost that right.
What if you're just using your cell phone to record them?
Yeah. So, and again, when you look at the totality of that circumstance, right? This isn't somebody that was sitting on a sidewalk, detached and disengaged and recording. This is somebody who was in the street, who was struggling. That was a rough thing to watch, and my heart goes out to that family. It really does. Again, when it comes
But
to
I'm a Republican,
the constitutional right to
so
carry
I have
a firearm,
to eat Donald
absolutely
Trump.
He had it. Absolutely, he was allowed to bring it. I don't think that in that situation I would have made that choice. In fact, I know I wouldn't have, and I certainly wouldn't have engaged in a tussle.
I would
with
never
law
save
enforcement.
another woman from being shoved into the fucking ground
I think that
by an
it's gonna be a
unaccountable
really,
Nazi.
interesting investigation. I don't think that it's up to me. I don't presume to be the.
Do these guys all get the same JD guy liner? Is that what it is? What's going on here?
And then we'll be able to
Did
make
they
that
build these
determination.
guys in the same factory? Is this another Peter Thiel blood boy? What's going on?
The state or local governments.
Yeah, there's a lot of agencies in the federal government. There's millions of people that work for the federal government. I believe that they can conduct a proper investigation.
I want to go to our audience.
I can't stand these.
Oh,
oh my God.
This is Shelda Kondo. She's an educator and a mom from St. Paul. Shelda?
Good luck defending
Hi.
this.
What specific actions will you
Oh,
support
ICE
in the
drive-by
next
pepper sprays people
legislative
standing on the
session
sidewalk
to
after
address
this
both
vehicle
the
passed by
immediate
them?
fallout from these deadly encounters and the broader question of how Minnesota navigates federal immigration enforcement while safeguarding civil liberties?
One difficult thing about this whole situation
Okay.
is the federal government and the
She's
state
giving.
government and all interact.
This is conflicting. Okay. There's a lot going on with this outfit. Hat's cool, but then I'm looking at the bottom.
The federal government has preeminence. So we're really limited in what we can do. I do
Get
not
it
have
out of your
anything
system
specific,
before
I'm
Black
sorry,
History
but
Month.
I'm happy to have any discussion.
She's a
that's
teacher,
the fun part of being
chill.
in the legislature is you get to cover every topic
I'm just
imaginable.
saying.
Some of them are
She came in and said both sides. She came in and said both sides with that outfit.
Let me ask you, you've dismissed the idea of deporting every undocumented immigrant in Minnesota. The administration, they have not put a number on how many people they want to deport here in Minneapolis or in Minnesota. Stephen Miller has talked about deporting 3,000 people
She's a
nationwide
Sherman
every day.
supporter, but admires Robert E.
Do you have
Lee.
any idea when this will end in Minnesota? When do you want the administration to come out with a number of, I mean, when is...
Well, I literally have no power over it, so my opinion honestly doesn't matter that much, but I'll give it to you since you asked, is the actually deporting every single illegal immigrant is fundamentally an impossible thing. And
These
especially
guys
since
are
Congress
these guys are
has
Republican
dragged their feet
state
on immigration
congresspersons.
reform. I mean, you've been covering it in your many years here. Yeah, they've let this whole system become a total disaster. Securing the border was always the first step in that. Now we have to look at, well, what do we do with everybody we have now? And especially given the demographic structure, it would be economic suicide to deport every single illegal immigrant in the country. We certainly shouldn't be keeping them in our prisons or keeping them in our jails just because the state wants to exert, like, we don't want to cooperate with the Fed. We can free up space in our prisons and move in the, start dealing with the number of illegal immigrants we have. And then we need the Congress, not us, needs to find a way to get us beyond that. Now, that's a complicated question, but we certainly need to be deporting illegal immigrants who have committed crimes, 100%. And to me, that's the obvious solution. You asked the mayor that in the last section. How about everybody focus on that, and let's get to work and end this.
You would like to see a more, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Would you like to see a more targeted approach here right now? Everybody is saying, well, yeah, we want to go after hardened criminals. Whether that's actually happening here or not, I guess is not.
Anderson, I don't need to jump in here, but you have 1,600
It's not
people
happening.
who
Every hardened criminal that they deported is from prison.
Raids that looked chaotic, and
every
that led
hardened
to
criminal that they've deported, they deported from prison. They were already in prison. They were already in prison.
Chaos here in Minnesota for all the wrong reasons. And even before that, we were in chaos and in dire times because of all the fraud. So it seems as if Minnesota just is the epicenter of chaos right now. But there was a roadmap for none of this to occur. It would have been
Donald Trump doing the exact same thing as Gretchen Whitmer, Democrat governor,
if that's the case, though,
east,
they've been
as
here
well
a while.
as Tony Evers.
They've been here a while. If it's 1,600 people they were after, you would think they would have picked them up by now.
No, because the state has impeded and gotten in the way and passed legislation.
So you
saying
don't think they picked up 1,600 people?
No, there were 1,600 people that were picked up because Tim Walz did not hand over that detainer list. So now anybody that you interact with as an ICE agent with orders to detain and remove people that the administration wants to, they're going to have that.
Yeah,
so there was more because of what Governor Walz did.
Yeah. The administration, though, said that they were initially going after the worst of the worst, quote unquote.
That was their goal. And the worst was held back.
Now people are being picked up who are legally here, detained for days, and then let go. And there have been American citizens picked up. Do you think that's what they should be doing?
I think that would not have happened had Governor Walz and other leaders here in the state not made it their stated goal to impede everything that the federal administration does.
Do you think the administration has any role in this? Because I know you're putting the blame on the governor, but...
So a heightened tension or a heightened escalation from the state where they say they're going to get in the way, that they're going to fight it at every turn, that's been met with equal force from the federal government. Now, do I like it when I hear that Americans have been apprehended based off of skin color, as some have said? No, of course I don't. That's disgusting. We shouldn't be doing that. But when you have a concerted and very calculated effort to impede that same administration at every turn,
to dominate the regular working public.
A woman in Shaka.
I'm so glad that we're spending like $80 billion on some of the most unemployable morons that are just going after people with jobs. I think it was the Chapo take, right? ICE is like an agency tasked with... ICE is an agency that gets confidence from some of the most unemployed people who celebrate them going after employed people over and over again. They took unemployable people. Peanut called you the R word. Okay. That's a peanut, dog. If you're getting your political opinions from a 40-year-old man who plays the peanut, I don't know what to tell you, Just put the entertainment in the bag, little bro. Anyway, as I was saying, peanut chat hoppers, yeah. ICE is basically a group of unemployable morons getting hired to go and arrest employed people. Okay? What the are we doing?
And if we allow agents to do that, we get allow law enforcement to do that. We can allow law enforcement to work with the community members and build relationships, because that's what we've been doing in law enforcement the last 10 years. We've been focusing on building good relationships with the community, because that's what we do. So if we create those agreements in Minnesota, and we maybe have to legislate that they have to be part of them, that gives a great opportunity for ICE agents to not have to be here and not be building relationships, and your community police officers, your sheriff's departments, they can be doing this work while they're simultaneously doing all the other work and all the other great things that they're doing in our communities. I think that creates a really positive environment where everyone can wholeheartedly trust the police and feel safe around them. And again, the lack of that.
They previously had the police chief and Jacob Frey. Now they're asking the Republicans.
Minneapolis is not interested in ever working in that capacity.
But they should be getting cooked way harder, in my opinion.
That refusal of our leaders, of Frey and of Walz, to engage and work with federal law enforcement is creating this chaos. Yes. It's creating a dangerous environment where people don't feel safe to go outside, where we have 3,000 agents in Minnesota, and people are worried about that. That would not be happening right now if we just worked with the federal government, as nearly every other state does. We don't have to be prideful and boastful about fighting Tim Walz fighting Trump. Or last night he said he would physically violate the vice president. That's language that really makes people feel unsafe. They feel unsteady when their leaders are talking about getting in fistfights with each other over gravitas. That's not how we lead. That's not how we should legislate, and that's not how we should treat our people.
And the president has certainly had his licks too against those who are in power here. But let me quickly
to that point, actually, I think it's really important to note that this week President Trump met with these leaders, and he came out and he said great things about them. If you read his post, he was very complimentary, and it was repudiated with more insults from the leaders here in Minnesota. The olive branch is constantly extended, and it's swatted away.
Trump's feelings are hurt. Is he sick? The fattest Nazis of all time on the streets of Minneapolis.
Let's address the laughter in the room. You're hearing that laughter because people.
Those guys are constituents. What do you mean? God, these people are such pathetic cucks.
We saw.
They're laughing. They're laughing in his face.
Problem. Media is not addressing serious issues. Just in December, the Star Tribune here in Minnesota, our largest newspaper, had a year-end wrap-up where they wrapped up the most important stories of the year. They didn't even touch on the $9 billion worth of fraud in this state, which is honestly my belief and a lot of people's beliefs is the reason that there's so much chaos and that the governor refuses to work is because this is a great distraction from his absolute failure.
If it wasn't for the countless videos from multiple angles showing the moments leading up to and after Alex Preddy's shooting, we may never have known what happened that day. And you may have seen this angle, one of the closest to the incident, filmed through a car windshield. Whoa! Up until now, we had not heard from the young woman behind the camera about what she witnessed that day. Her name is Kayla Schultz. She's coming forward. She sat down with me earlier today. Here's some of what she told me.
He was trying to save the life of that other person.
Take a look.
I am scared of speaking out and having this public, having my face out there and my name. But if I...
He died a hero. He's a good man, and they murdered him, dude.
Shown there.
And now these sons of are running around being like, well, don't you think he deserved to get killed because he broke the taillight 11 days prior to his assassination?
To be scared, intimidated into silence. I can lose my safety. I can lose security. They can take everything away from me, but they can't take my voice. And they want us to be intimidated.
They feed off it.
They escalate in every single way if they are not able to use that fear in order to intimidate us into backing down.
So if you're not intimidated, they escalate.
And that's exactly what happened to Alex. He did not let them intimidate him. In fact, he stood up for two women that they were absolutely brutalizing, and that made them mad that they were not able to intimidate him into tucking his tail and leaving.
Your camera is actually the closest camera to that moment of the Border Patrol guy shoving these women onto the sidewalk, but it's the closest, and you have the closest vantage point of them being pepper sprayed.
One moment, there are people being pushed around, there are people being maced right in front of me. The next thing I know, it's gunshots. It's so many gunshots, I couldn't believe it. I really have barely a recollection of the moments immediately after, other than just the feeling of absolute horror and also rage that it escalated like this. So they backed up, and I was sure he was dead.
You're scared, but you're still standing up.
Yes. I think it's so important. Now is not the time to stay silent in this for anyone at all. It's imperative. Things are going to get a lot worse, I think, not only in my city, but around this country as this project expands. And we all need to be courageous. We all need to be a little bit brave. And again, do what we can in order to stand up for our rights.
Well, coming up, we're going to hear from Minnesota's Attorney General Keith Ellison on whether he thinks any federal officers should be held accountable for their actions in Minnesota. We'll be right back.
This is something no one would have expected even a few months ago.
There's new drama here on Capitol Hill tonight.
Bro, while all this shit's going down, I'm going to go back to this one more time, okay? Did you see Dr. Oz talk about the Armenian mafia fraud in LA? This is going to be the next ethnic cleansing ICE mission. I did see that. I don't think ICE is going to have as easy of a time roaming the streets of Glendale, if I'm being real. And I cannot believe that the Trump administration is so f***ing insane that you can just have like a Turkish dude decide to go after an ethnic group in the country, advancing his own personal interests. It is insane to me. It is actually insane to me that this is running around in Glendale talking about how Armenians are doing fraud. The only type of fraud they're doing is car insurance fraud law. Oh shit. Moist is back to blasting dog 5-pointer gnome. What, Kirsty gnome? Moist critical. He'll go after anyone. Finally, he's going after a real dog abuser. Just finished the DSA orientation and chatters were in the Zoom chat calling you hot. Hell yeah. Where was I? What was I going to talk about? Yeah, Angus King already folded, said he would accept a clean resolution on DHS funding to avert a partial shutdown and give Congress more time to put restrictions on ICE. Shaheen calls it a reasonable approach. Oh, God, these guys are such pathetic losers, of course. And also, Chris Murphy says, Democrats are right to deny funding to the DHS absent changes that stop the lawlessness and inhumanity. Changes that Americans are demanding. Let's talk for a second about what has to change immediately and why it's so important to demand these reforms. Alec Karakatsanis says, this is a speech designed by someone who thinks you're stupid. He's explicitly promising to keep the recently triple budget of the DHS Gestapo if there are reforms that, behind closed doors, their lawyers admit are unenforceable, irrelevant, and even harmful. Adam Johnson wrote about Dems' proposed reforms, which range from superficial to likely unenforceable to actively harmful. The grip billionaire-backed anti-abolish groups have over Washington and the conscious, conspicuous absence of any attempt to touch DHS's obscene budget. They are straightforwardly trying to get you on board. They are literally, dude, we talk about how incompetent and feckless the Democrats are, but honestly, this is a moment of competence. You have to also recognize when Democrats are competent, right? They immediately go out and they do messaging bills, right? Or not messaging bills, sorry. They immediately go out and get their third-way neoliberal messaging operations. They float it to Politico and they say, see, the best kind of messaging here is modest reform on ICE. Then they turn around and have backdoor meetings about how they're going to demand certain reforms. This is a moment of competence for the Democratic Party. Do not misunderstand me. It's horrible, and it's feckless, and it's appeasing. Dare I say, it's fascist collaboration. However, they are being competent here. They're getting together, and they're basically trying to cast aside those who have the bravery to say abolish ICE as naysayers, as outsiders. Just remember this, okay? Remember this when they do this for Medicare for all, for example, right? Remember this if there's any sort of significant movement to demand cutting funds to Israel. When it comes down to collaborating with fascists, Democrats will become incredibly competent overnight. And this is a perfect demonstration of such. They haven't arrested either of the ICE agents. Where's that demand? I mean, there's that too. It's so. Here's a friend of the show, Keith Ellison, talking.
In 3 different cases now, so we had to take that action. So I'm concerned about it, but we're moving but we did something about it, and we're going to continue to do so.
I want you to meet Kevin Brown.
Hi, Kevin.
He's a local business owner here in Minneapolis. Kevin, what's your question?
Attorney General Ellison, do you actually have the names of the individuals who shot Alex Preddy? If not, how can you investigate someone for potential criminal activity if you don't know who they are?
This is an excellent question. And I mean, it really speaks to the fact that it's rather absurd that the names are not public already. I can't imagine another. I mean, look, I've been a lawyer for 36 years. I've never seen anything like this before. We have heard some reports that the names might exist in a report form. I haven't heard them yet. and I'm confident that we will get those names. But the fact that I don't know them yet is an absurdity and is example of how little cooperation that we're getting. I mean, if you believe that you you used deadly force in a lawful manner, why would you be afraid to disclose that name? You're claiming that you did the right thing. Step up, admit it, and let us all deal with it. It feels like a cover-up, Kevin. And I would never want to say that about our federal government, but over the least past,
you have to remember, he's the attorney
days,
general.
I'm
He
not gonna
can and
ignore
can't
the
say
evidence
certain
in front
things.
of my
Like, for
face.
example, he can't call it a murder. I hope you know that. He is the
Frey
attorney
Wolf from
general.
Minneapolis. She works.
He literally is not allowed to call it a murder. I just need you to understand, when he uses certain words, the mayor can say whatever the fuck he wants. The governor can say whatever the fuck he wants. He can't say whatever the fuck he wants. He's the attorney general before you get mad at him.
Pursue civil or criminal
He
action
has to-
if federal accountability
He has to
falls short.
do lawyer speak
Well, another
because he is
fantastic question. Let me
responsible
just tell
for
you,
being
look,
the
there is
top
no
prosecutor.
barrier. No, there's no absolute immunity for a federal agent who commits a
Why
crime
though?
in Minnesota.
What do you mean? He's the fucking attorney general. I feel like our brains have been so busted from Kash Patel and Pam Bondi constantly going out and just being like, these guys are all rapist murderers before a fucking court proceeding happens, that you think that you can't think that you can tarnish an ongoing investigation. What the
to debate me on the point?
It will
'Cause
literally
he's
compromise
absolutely,
him. It's his
positively
job.
Wrong. In fact, there's other examples when agents, federal agents, have been charged. You think of has anybody heard of the Randy Weaver case? There was a white supremacist named Randy Weaver, and federal agents suspected
he has to be impartial.
They
Only Republicans
circled
get to
his
be
house in
not impartial.
Idaho,
Ruby Ridge.
Ruby Ridge, and
He brought this up in our
federal agent
conversation
shot
too.
and killed his wife. And Idaho pursued charges against that agent. The case actually was litigated up to the Ninth Circuit, and it was determined that there was no blanket immunity and that this officer would have to stand trial. Now, then there was an election, and the local county attorney said, within my prosecutorial discretion, we're not going to pursue the case. But the fact that you could pursue the case is very clear, and J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller are absolutely wrong on the law.
This is Rob Dorr. He's a defense attorney from Minneapolis, who's also active in local gun rights group. Rob, welcome.
Mr. Attorney General, first, thank you and your team for your strong advocacy, trying to get transparency in the investigation. They did amazing on Monday.
Thank you.
In court. Thank
He's
you.
a part of the problem here. He
You've been
told you to
strong
write a
advocate
letter,
for
bro.
stronger gun control measures, including policies that would have banned what Alex Preddy was carrying and limiting the right to public carry. Have federal operations in Minnesota and the shooting of Alex Preddy changed your perspective on these policies?
No, they haven't. But let me be clear on what my views on gun race are. I am a gun owner myself. I enjoy hunting deer, pheasant, turkey. I believe people should have the right to lawfully and safely own
Bro,
guns.
people in Minnesota do not play around about hunting, by the way. That was something that I learned. Remember the guy I was talking to that heads care out there?
To save the precious lives of
And he was talking to me about how he loves hunting. He goes up on a deer stand and
some common sense restrictions on guns.
They do not play around about hunting out there. It is crazy.
I think
It's just people that you would not assume are going out to hunt.
We should have background checks. And as a gun owner, I don't mind any of that.
And he had a lowrider too, which is sick.
Gun, but you'll also never hear me say that you should have an unlimited right to possess a gun. I'm sure
it's
that
revolting.
People of goodwill can come together
I wouldn't
to say
it's revolting.
What makes sense. So that's where I stand on these issues. I am powerful. I am effective.
It's so funny when go vegan, bro. Hunting for your own food is probably closer to veganism than going and purchasing at Walmart. What are you talking about?
Up next, we're going to hear from Minneapolis faith leaders on what is giving them hope during the city's immigration.
There is the reason why I brought that up is because there is no better proof of complete assimilation to American culture than a Somali dude talking to me about putting on the real tree camo and sitting on a deer stand to go out hunting. That's it. That's it. You are you are the proof. You are the proof that you come to America and you assimilate no matter what. Okay? You keep You keep some of the traditions, you keep some of the culture, but you do objectively become American. That's a Rogan take. It's just the truest take of all time. Okay?